Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming and helping us share some really positive news today with the community. We really appreciate you guys coming out today. I'm Matt Gedney. I'm with the City of Sioux Falls Environmental Division of Public Works. So I'm here representing the city today. Of course, what we're really here for today is not, we don't want to take credit for whatsoever. We did assist a little bit, but the real story today here is the Sioux Falls School District and School Bus Inc. So we want to make sure that we highlight that. School Bus Inc. is the provider of the busing, is the busing service contractor for the Sioux Falls Public Schools, and both of them were awarded a sizable grant through the EPA, $500,000 to purchase 20 new school buses. And these school buses, of course, are outfitted with the latest technology as it comes in regards to emission controls. The aim of the EPA's grant, of course, is to reduce emissions or at least at minimum reduce the exposure to the emissions related to combusting of diesel fuel. And these buses, of course, there was one right behind me, will do all that and some more. So from what I understand, these buses are about 25% more fuel efficient than the ones they're replacing. And for most parameters that we look at when we think about pollution from diesel combustion, for the most part, the reduction in emissions is greater than 90% for most parameters. So that's pretty impressive. The City of Sioux Falls supported this effort to obtain the grant, not only because it's a good idea, but it also assists our long-term goals in reducing our carbon footprint as it pertains to government-related transportation. So busing kids, of course, is part of a government activity, and that's one of our long-term goals, is to reduce our carbon footprint from all government-related transportation. To give you some more details about the grant and as well as the buses that were purchased, I'd like to introduce Steve High with School Bus Inc.
Thanks, Matt. Good morning, everyone. My name is Steve High. I'm president of School Bus Inc., and we would like to welcome you to our facilities this morning. We're glad you're here. I'd recognize again Matt Gedney and Heather Hitterdahl from the city. Thanks very much to them for arranging this event today. Also present today, I want to call your attention to Todd Veek, Ann Smith, and Melissa Brock from the Sioux Falls School District, our partners in transportation and our partners in this project. Also, my father, Chuck High, the chairman of our board of directors, and Jim Schaefer, our general manager. For several years now, Congress has authorized designated funding to be applied to the Clean Diesel Funding Assistance Program. The Environmental Protection Agency awards these funds on a competitive grant basis, and funding is administered on a regional basis. EPA has designated regions across the country by number as certain regions. Sioux Falls and South Dakota happen to be in EPA region number 8, which is comprised primarily of Rocky Mountain states and has its headquarters in Denver. We in Sioux Falls here are the largest city in Region 8 that's east of the city of Denver, and we are one of the largest cities in the entirety of Region 8. Governmental agencies, such as school districts, can apply for grants under the Clean Diesel Funding Assistance Program, and the purpose of these grants is to purchase or to acquire the latest and best in technology to reduce harmful diesel emissions. Entities such as School Bus Inc. that have contractual relationships with eligible entities can also participate in these awards on a sub-grant basis. Applicants such as the school district must submit proposals for awards that must be applied to technology that reduces harmful diesel emissions in a proposed project area that is within Region 8. EPA has published a list of different types of technology that can be used for the basis for these grants, and provides criteria that determines how those criteria can be applied to these different types of technologies in what type of vehicle or setting they're used, and to measure results for their effectiveness. The types of equipment that can benefit from these types of technologies range from all sorts of on-road and off-road applications, everything from railroad or railroad locomotives to school buses to off-road heavy construction equipment and different types of vehicles of that kind. EPA has designated as one of their primary focus areas school buses, and they do so for some important reasons. First of all, as we know, school buses transport our children each and every day, and studies show that young people with developing lungs are particularly vulnerable to respiratory illnesses, school absences, and so forth as a result of exposure to harmful diesel emissions. Our proposal, in conjunction with the Sioux Falls School District, sought an award of $500,000 in grant funding for the purchase of 20 new school buses that have the very latest in diesel emission reductions technology. Grant awards under EPA rules can cover up to 25% of the cost of these new technologies, and the remainder of the cost has to be furnished in some other way by private entities or other entities that agree to do so on a mandatory cost share basis. The Sioux Falls School District submitted our application for this grant in June of last year and received notification of its successful granting of it, the award to it, beginning in October 1st of last year for the full $500,000. So we are now almost 1 year into the grant program, and to date we've purchased 10 new school buses, just like the one that's behind me. And under the rules of the award, we have destroyed 10 buses that are among the very oldest in our fleet that do not have the latest and best in diesel emissions technology. We'll purchase another 10 buses this year and for this coming school year. And because of our ability to purchase equipment on a volume basis and take advantage of discounts, we might actually be able to produce or purchase 1 or 2 additional buses in addition to the 10 new ones that we'll purchase this year. All of each bus that we purchase will result in an additional older bus being taken from our fleet and destroyed. These new school buses have very remarkable capabilities in terms of reducing the harmful diesel emissions from the tailpipe. And this is how remarkable it is. EPA actually makes use of software that they have on their website and what they call the diesel emissions quantifier. This allows a user to input vehicle age, vehicle type of technology employed, and do the same for the vehicles it is intended to replace, and it enables a calculation to be made that tells on an absolute basis the reduction in various types of pollutants and also a percentage reduction when compared to that technology in the bus that's being replaced. The types of pollutants that are most important are nitrogen oxide, particulate matter, carbon monoxide, and carbon dioxide. And in each of those instances, the technology that's on the buses like the one behind me is capable of reducing those emissions on an annual basis by 25 to 97%, and on a lifetime basis from 22% to 84%. EPA designates these buses of having a lifetime of 16.5 years. Our experience has told us that if they receive proper preventative maintenance, the useful life of these buses can go even longer than that, and the pollution benefits they produce then can be spread over an even greater number of years. The amount of pollutants that a bus of this kind would produce over the course of a year would literally run and be measured in the tons. And so the amounts of reductions that we're seeing on these percentage means that literally tons of these pollutants are saved from being introduced into the atmosphere each year. One of the most important reductions is in what's called particulate matter. Particulate matter is the microscopic particles that come out of the tailpipe of a bus when the fuel that bus is using is not burned completely. The technology in these buses enables fuel to be burned much more completely and much more efficiently. All of us have seen buses over the years that have out of their exhaust very black, sooty exhaust. That's particulate matter. These buses are entirely different. What comes out of the tailpipe is clear. It doesn't have that same diesel exhaust odor. And that's because of the dramatic reduction in these particulate particles that this technology will enable us to achieve. There's been studies around the country, some of them by our industry colleagues, in terms of just how successful this technology is. We have colleagues in the bus business in Philadelphia, an area that has obviously more pollutants than the city of Sioux Falls does. They conducted, first of all, what they called a white handkerchief test. They had an old bus. They held a white handkerchief in front of the tailpipe of one of those older buses, and within just a few seconds, that handkerchief was black. They took another white handkerchief, held it by the tailpipe of one of these buses, and the handkerchief stayed white. They also were able to take measurements that showed that, at least in the city of Philadelphia, the tailpipe emissions from one of these new buses was actually cleaner than the ambient air surrounding the bus. While we here in Sioux Falls are fortunate to have cleaner air, we also have areas and concentrations of air pollution as well. And so the benefits to be gained from these buses as they move around the city are very significant indeed. Best of all, the benefits that we're going to achieve with these new school buses in terms of reducing harmful diesel emissions will benefit everyone right here in Sioux Falls. The school buses that have this technology that we'll be using, we use almost exclusively right within the Sioux Falls city limits, and more particularly near the schools where we pick up and transport our students. So the benefits that these buses deliver in terms of reducing harmful emissions are most present right where they're most needed, near our young school-age children who have developing lungs. We fully expect that in addition to reducing these emissions, that these new buses will promote better health among our young age students, reduce the incidences of respiratory illnesses and conditions such as asthma, and will reduce school absenteeism. And we'll work with our partners at the school district to track and to monitor those results. Each quarter, we're obligated to submit a report to the EPA detailing the activities we engage in under this grant and report measurements of these important results and objectives that we expect to achieve. We're proud to say here at School Bus Inc. that this coming Tuesday, we're going to begin our 38th year of serving the transportation needs of the Sioux Falls School District. We're very proud of that, and we truly value the partnership we share with the Sioux Falls School District. We're grateful for our relationship with them and the shared goals that we have in this grant and the shared goals we have every day as we transport our nation's and our city's most precious cargo. We also value our relationship with the City of Sioux Falls and their cooperation with us today and throughout the year. We're pledged, and they are pledged, to working with us to advance the environmental goals and objectives, not only in this grant, but that the city has as well. So that's why we're so excited to be a part of this wonderful opportunity, and we look forward to working with our partners to improve the air quality in our community for many years to come.